Welcome to the Angry Nerd Podcast. My name is Arshawn Wade, aka the Angry Nerd. The Angry Nerd Podcast is taped in front of a live Facebook audience from my mom's basement. The Angry Nerd Podcast is brought to you in part by a few bad life choices and a couple of shattered dreams. The Angry Nerd Podcast is made possible by money that my wife gives me from my SSI check, a chick named Joni, and proceeds from listeners like you. If you want to be one of the listeners that helps contribute to this show getting better and better, go to Cash App. My Cash App is $the Angry Nerd. We would love to get some of those twos and fews on the donation side of the game, but wait, we ain't glorified internet begging out here in these Angry Nerd streets. Hell no. Pick up an Angry Nerd Podcast t-shirt. Get yours from sizes small to extra large in colors black or white for the low price of $20 plus shipping and handling. If you follow me on Facebook, inbox me with your size, your address information, cash. You drop that Cash App and we'll get yours out to you at our earliest convenience, which is typically on Fridays when we mail out t-shirts. So if you put in a t-shirt order, let me know. If we haven't got yours filled, be like, oh man, he on that Umar Johnson shit. He ain't selling shirts. This nigga just scamming. No, I'm not scamming. I probably missed it somewhere in translation or some shit like that. So just get your shit to me, message me, get on the what do you call it, message on my wall, be like, hey nigga, I ain't got my shirt yet, and I'll get it to you, because I'm sure it's just some sort of an oversight or something like that, and we'll get it worked out. But anyways, tonight's topic: manhood, capitalism, and violence. Interesting. Not very. Once you get all the way down to it the way that I do, it's not as interesting as you may think, because there is a direct correlation between the three. Manhood in North America as we know it, more specifically the United States of America, and capitalism, which is the driving force in this country, and then violence, which protects this country, or at least the thought or threat of violence protects this country. So anyways, before I get into tonight's topic, I do want to say one thing. We had a couple of good brothers pass away recently. I just got the news a couple of hours ago, so I don't know the full story, so I'm not going to do anything like that, like go into detail about it or share an opinion or anything like that. I'm just going to say hearts out and condolences to the family of these young men. Prayers be with them. Someone lost their life last night or something like that. Just some crazy stuff going on here recently, and I just want to say in the city of Fort Smith, man, let's be prayed up, guys. Let's join in. I don't care if you're a Muslim or a Christian, whatever it is. Let's join in some positive energy and try to get some things moving around on the energy side of the game, because man, I hate to hear tragedies happen like that and then they go back to back to back like that. It's like, oh my God, it's just, man, the people who left, they've gone on to whatever is next, but the people who are here, man, we are left to deal with the heartache and the tragedy of that. And so let's try to think about that, and let's not wait until the next time something terrible happens to start thinking about our loved ones and those closest to us. But in traditional fashion, since something bad did happen, let's go ahead and reach out to our loved ones and those closest to us, because time's winding down and nobody knows when you're gonna punch out. No one knows when that day is, that expiration date. Nobody knows. So reach out to those people close to you. Reconcile with somebody you can bury a hatchet with, water under the bridge a situation if you have the opportunity to, while you're still here and you're alive and you're healthy. Because every day on this side of the dirt is a good day. Even if it's not great, it's not terrible. Because the alternative is the unknown, and that's spooky as a motherfucker. And I really just don't want to go off into that right now. So getting back to tonight's topic, once again, shout out to those families, condolences, prayers. Tonight's topic: manhood, capitalism. Sorry, one of my notifications popped up. And violence. You have to look at manhood in this country. Manhood has drastically changed in this country. I'm old enough to remember cowboys and Indians, cops and robbers. You know what I mean? A dollar, if you took $1 to the store, you were able to get, just so much stuff. You know what I mean? You could get 2 or 3 nutty bars and a jungle juice. You could play in the dirt and be outside all day. And it's just not like that anymore. Now, little boys, and I'm starting there because we got to get to manhood. To get to manhood, we have to start with boyhood, and boyhood is vastly different because now you can no longer go and get snacks for $1. Now you have to go to Whole Foods and you have to spend $22 on the kid a snack. And you got to stop by Starbucks and spend $7 on them a latte. Or Sean, what the hell kind of kids do you got? I got little needy ass, I want something ass kids who are born in the United States of America, and that's just how it rolls. You can't get anything cheap anymore. You can't get anything for $1 anymore. The value of $1 isn't the same as it once was. Kids don't care about anything anymore, and it is because of manhood or lack thereof. Why? Because man, our dads were hardcore dudes. They would make us work for that dollar. My kid has a pair of shoes on that are more expensive than any pair of shoes I've ever bought, and I've bought some nice shoes, in my opinion. And he doesn't give a gee whiz about those shoes, not the way I would if I had a pair of shoes like that growing up. But I come from the struggle. So many of us champion the struggle, but we don't have the heart to parent the way that our fathers did. Most of us who had fathers back in our day, I'm 30 something years old, they were hardcore dudes. They didn't give a damn about telling you no. They didn't feel guilt about telling you no. We feel guilt. Why? Because the other kids got it, and the kid's gonna come home and tell you, Dad, you ain't shit because you didn't get it from me. And that guilt is driven by the beast known as capitalism. They put commercials in front of your kids so that your kids come in front of you and tell you, Dad. So a man isn't measured by the content of his character or his ability to provide or hunt or anything like that, anything manly. He is governed by his ability to provide dead white dudes on green paper. That's how he's judged. That's the rubric for how well a man is established in his manhood, in his manliness. And I'll tell you, I know some guys who have a lot of money who are bitch made. Simple and plain. The hallmark of a man has gone from strength and power and might and the ability to do things with one's hands, and it has moved on to how much is in your wallet. And so a byproduct of that is anybody can get some money, including bitch niggas. You know, for lack of a better phrase, they can get money too. Simps, suckers, they get money too. And so when you have something as subjective and relative as manhood, because let's be real about it, manhood doesn't mean the exact same thing to everybody. There's an argument on the internet about snitching, whether or not snitching is a suitable institution to partake in. And there's a group of men who think that it's okay. And then there are a group of dinosaurs like myself who think that it's not. Because it's not. So you have a group of guys who can't even agree on whether or not snitching is masculine and manly behavior or if it's not. So that's why I say manhood is subjective and it is relative, but the colloquial image of manhood and manliness, we think of oftentimes in this country somebody like, if you're a white guy, you probably think John Wayne, and if you're a black guy, you probably think like John Shaft. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you're from like my era, these are probably the guys that you think of. You know, Jim Brown, and what was that other guy's name? Fred, is it Hampton? Something like that. One of the other blaxploitation film actors. But these guys were like super men, very masculine men, and that's taken a really hard left turn. In probably the past at least 15, 20 years, that's taken a very hard left turn. And so the institution of manhood has taken a hit due to the beast of capitalism driving home the fact that a man who isn't able to go out and earn a certain amount of money isn't a man. In the eyes of his family, in the eyes of his kids, he's less than, because the almighty dollar dictates what manhood is today. Not true grit, like John Wayne taught us once upon a time, or not that jive type stuff that John Shaft taught us about. No, none of that. No brotherhood, no camaraderie, no morals, none of that. No, we don't have any of that anymore. We have the bag. Oh, there we are. I got to it. I finally got to it. I'm sorry. I've been experimenting with creating my own CBD products, and I recently indulged, and I think I had more THC than CBD, so bear with me. But anyways, we get to this place where we've traded manhood for money. We traded manhood for money. So what that means is, if I have money, if I have the bag, I'm a man. And that is simply not true. So I think we have to, people who know me know that all roads lead to capitalism. It always ends at capitalism. You find a social ill, and I promise you, I can find a correlation between that social ill and capitalism. All of our social ills are derivative of capitalism. You have to get back to the haves and the have-nots. The institution of have and have not, the institution of work for the machine, work for the one man, and he gets all of the coins and doles them out pennies at a time to his slaves, aka employees. They restructured slavery, all right. It's called the workforce. And everyone can engage in that process. Women are so crazy that they fought for the right to engage in that process. It looked so good to them. They reformed slavery so good that even white people wanted to get some parts of that. That's how good slavery looks. You can call it a career if you want, but at the end of the day, you're a slave to whatever that career provides. Because oftentimes when you have that career, you got your mortgage out the wazoo, your car payment, you're upside down in your car loan. Your kids are in private schools usually. Usually you're not really that flush liquid. You're usually living on credit at that level. Simple and plain. You're living on credit, which is a hope and a prayer. And if one bad thing happens, that's how you see a lot of people in middle America during this pandemic. You see a lot of people in middle America didn't know what to do. A lot of middle class people had absolutely no idea what to do when things went badly for them. So when I talk about manhood and the measure of a man, this is what I'm talking about. We saw what happens when the dollar faltered. The dollar faltered during the pandemic. We had to find out what kind of man you were living with, or male. Every male is not a man, in my opinion. And some ladies found out that they were living with a male and not a man, because when push came to shove, they couldn't figure it out. When the job said, hey, you can't come in here no more, there were some people who couldn't figure it out. There were some guys who couldn't figure it out, who couldn't get it together, who couldn't keep it together. And ladies found out the hard way. And that's why we found out all of the holes and the gaps in manhood created by capitalism. The more we buy into the institution, the more we buy into the system, the less masculinity we have, the less manliness we have. You want to know why there's so many? Now we get to the vicious V word, violence. You guys saw what happened when the pandemic started. You saw what happened when the pandemic started. People were going to see about getting them something. People went to see about getting them something, whether they had the money to get it or not. Whether they had the money to get it or not, people went to see about getting something. They went in stores and relieved stores of property and merchandise without paying for it. Oh, yeah, the violence ensued. See, and that's because men have not taken a stand. Men have been lulled to sleep with the dollar. Why? Because we can take that dollar that capitalism created for us and we can live so comfortably that we forget to even think for ourselves. We forget to think for ourselves. How are you leading a family if you do not have the ability to create independent thoughts? How do you consider yourself the head of the household if you are so dependent upon the institution of capitalism, which is a bottomless pit of a beast that devours an endless appetite? You can never satisfy the beast of capitalism. Can't make enough money, can't devour enough souls, can't break enough backs of men, can't ruin enough marriages for capitalism, can't turn out enough school shooters for capitalism. I put all of the social ills of this society on capitalism. 100% the burden for whatever problems we have in this country we call the United States of America is on the shoulders of capitalism. People can't understand why the problem is so bad in this country with drugs and addiction, with violence, with crime. I will tell you why. It's capitalism. And men, real men, have been beaten into submission, sequestered into some corner of the universe of people's mind called toxic masculinity. Real men have been sequestered over in that box. And then you have the fugazi individuals, who people call F-boys. I like to say fugazi. It's a better word. It's, the F word is kind of strong, and when I say it, it sounds really strong, so I like to say fugazi into the fugazi boys, you know what I mean? Those dudes, you know what I mean? The guys that girls always attribute manhood to, it's like they always attribute manhood to the worst of us. You know what I'm saying? That those traits and qualities of the F-boys, those dudes. But anyways, those guys are out there, and we're over here in the corner, blocked in by all of these social attacks, toxic masculinity. We're not in touch with our feelings and things of that nature, and I'm okay with that. I say bring back the day of the caveman. Bring back the day of the guy who only has 5 pairs of pants and 7 shirts. Simpler times when we 100% knew who was who and what was what. So many men are afraid to stand on the shoulders of masculinity. It is ridiculous. I see beat down, kowtowing, boot shuffling shells of men. Oftentimes you go to Walmart and you can see them. Their chest doesn't even stand up the right way. You can tell they've been beat down. You could always tell a battered man. They apologize a lot too. The battered man, he apologizes a lot. It's just his reaction. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That's what the battered man does. The battered man apologizes all the time. You see these guys out there and you're like, man, if you're a real man out there, you're the last of a dying breed. And I understand. I want you to know, if you are a man under the sound of my voice right now and you stand on the shoulders of real manhood, a lot of it looks like a guy who's probably been divorced a time or two, because he's not going to go for the bullshit that you have to go through to be with a woman for 20 years. There's a lot of us who are not willing to go through that shit. And eventually there are a lot of us who are standing on the shoulders of manhood and masculinity. But we have to, what I'm telling you guys, it's going to get uncomfortable if you want to continue to do that, because they're going to make it to where we're not even allowed to speak freely about what it is that we like and don't like. Now, if you share an opinion about something you don't like, it's called hating. Personally, I don't give a shit if someone doesn't like the fact that I said something and they call it hating. I'm entitled to my opinion, just like Dwayne Wade's son is entitled to be a girl now. Why am I not entitled to my opinion, but he's entitled to be a girl? Why is it you can stretch your imagination to accept this little boy becoming a girl, but you can't accept me not liking it? Why can't both of those things be okay? Well, in my world, they are. I think it's okay for him to dress his kid like that. If he wants to put his kid in very expensive women's clothing, by George, go right ahead. But you have to understand that some people don't like it. And because we are allowed to express our opinions in this country somewhat, people are going to, invoke their right to do that. And I'm one of those people, and I'm going to say my shit. And because of that, there are a lot of women who will get the fuck away from me, because women have been around a lot of simps, because there are a lot of guys who are afraid to talk to women, but because they have money in their pocket, they feel confident whenever they get around women. And when they get around them, they don't know how to be men around women. They only know how to be males with money around women. So they don't stand on manhood or masculinity in the presence of women. And women, bless your little hearts, women often think that these guys are men. And they're not. They're just males who happen to have money in their wallet. So when you get around a real man, you can't understand why he's not kissing your ass. You can't understand why he's not whispering sweet nothings to you. You have absolutely no idea why you can't get this guy to act right. Well, here's why. Because he doesn't need to drive your car, ma'am. I'll tell you why you can't get that guy to act right. He doesn't need a place to stay. That's why. Real men don't need a place to stay. And oftentimes women don't know how to deal with real men. That's why manhood is taking a hit. Because women have been convinced by the simps and the suckers that is what manhood and masculinity is about. I'm convinced that that's what it is, because that's all I see on Facebook. It's all I see on Twitter. I said, oh, wow, it's the rise of the simp. There are so many of them and so few of us that they think that these guys are actual men. They have the equation 100% unequivocally wrong. And it's our job, men, to stand up and battle the machine of capitalism so that we can take a stand for manhood. Because what that means is we have to start getting some real man shit on TV. We have to start getting some real man shit on the radio. We have to get some real man shit back in our society. And it starts with having these conversations. Capitalism's ruining manhood. Capitalism is creating violent situations for the entire country. And it always has. It's never worked, except for the ruling class. In feudal times, the kings and the queens and the nobles and the whatnots, these were the people who made out like bandits. While everybody else, most of our poor broke asses, did their very best to eke out a living and carve out a little piece of dirt where they could put their flag and put their name at. Man, for my listeners out there on Spotify and YouTube, I'm finna go to the chat real quick. Look at one of my A1s from day ones. I can't get that saying right for the life of me. But my boy Eric Montgomery got a question real quick. Let me check him out. He said, I read a research paper a while back, and it pointed out that many women are attracted to men with feminine features. I could give examples, but I won't. LOL. You know what? That is 100% accurate. Men who are more like myself. I'm very fair I'm not very masculine at all. I want a beard so bad. One of my life's dreams is to get a beard. Like, I hate every Negro that has a beard. And I say Negro, I mean dudes. Any black, white, I don't care. If you got one of those really nice beards, I'm super jelly. You know what I mean? Not like I hate you, but I'm like, ooh. I feel the burn. So I understand what you're saying right there, Eric. because men who are very fair like myself, like I don't seem very masculine, I'm socially non-threatening, so women are a lot more comfortable in my presence, or someone like myself, smooth faced, or someone more, androgynous maybe, because you seem less threatening, like a big muscular, like burly guy like yourself. You got a beard, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a big dude. So like, you would cause a lady to, like, you would cause a guy to really kind of even, have his defenses up. Like, if you walked up, hey my man, where's the Western Sizzling? I would be like, yo, hold up, back up, homie. Like, I would make sure that I had proper intervals so that you couldn't, attack me because you're a large person. So yeah, I 100% agree with whatever that research paper is that you read. Yeah, more feminine type or guys are, more socially acceptable for women. Like I said, because their defenses are down and their guard is down. Like, a girl sees me, and if she doesn't know that I'm a fighter or nothing like that, like, a girl thinks she could beat my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, a girl be like, oh, skinny ass nigga, I'll beat your ass. You know what I mean? So it's like that's my experience. Like, as far as like somebody like Eric's size, nobody, a girl wouldn't be like, oh, I'll beat his ass. I mean, he's a big dude. But anyways, getting right back to it. Capitalism is the reason why most of our fathers or grandfathers or great grandfathers died 20 years sooner than they should have, because they had to work. And do you know that if you work third shift or overnights, due to the being around all the artificial light and stuff like that, and your internal time clock being flipped upside down, you are less likely to live as long as you would. I think it's like 10 years or something like that. I don't know how they gauge that stuff. When I read this stuff, I side eye the information, because I'm like, how they gauge that? Like, oh, you would have lived 10 more years, if you hadn't worked third shift at Ream. Like, how do they gauge that? Well, we studied 100, ex-employees at Reams, and this is the average lifespan. Oh, that sounds like bullshit. But I do believe that there is a correlation between a shorter lifespan and someone who lives an unconventional lifestyle, as far as someone who works a third shift job or those weird swing shift jobs where you're constantly changing your sleep pattern like that. I think there is a correlation between that, but it all derives from capitalism. If we didn't have to go to work, how many of us would be doing something different? If we didn't have to worry about paying the bills, if we didn't have, how would manhood be really measured then? We talked last year about the UBI, the Universal Basic Income. Jeff Bezos and what's the other rich mother, Zuckerberg, and all the other richie poos are talking about leaving the planet, and they found a planet, Nebulon somebody or the other, and they could possibly inhabit that planet. And they said, you know what, this planet is so cool, we'll leave these poor dirtbags down here, we'll build spaceships, and we'll leave. But it'd be pretty dirty to leave them down here with the tech industry moving towards AI, automation, automatic something, intelligence, automated intelligence, something like that. Anyways, or artificial intelligence. But the essence of it is automation, which is what we see a whole lot of with our what do you call that? Online ordering and stuff like that. Uber Eats. So we're moving in that direction. And so the Richie Poos are like, hey, we have to figure out a way for them to be able to take care of themselves down here once we put the entire planet on autopilot. So they came up with what's known as the UBI, the Universal Basic Income, which every man, boy, woman, girl, and child would receive a stipend from the government every month. And it would pay, your bills and everything like that and take care of everything. Well, here's the thing. If we were in a situation like, first of all, I don't think, I definitely, swipe my nose at the idea of some sort of utopia where we don't have to ever work again. But let's go ahead and humor these Richie Poos for 1 second and say we believe that they're going to leave the planet and leave things on autopilot for us down here. What would you do if you didn't have to go to that bullshit factory every day? What would you do if you didn't have to worry about how many vacation days you had? Excuse me, how many bereavement or sick days you had saved up so you could line them up and miss just enough days to get almost a week vacation? Oh, I was a pro at that. What would you do? And that, when you answer that question, that's the problem with capitalism. Because you cannot go after the thing that you really love and care about. Because you have to pay the bills. So a man cannot operate in his proper capacity as a man because he's busy going to do an unnatural act, working in somebody's factory and paying bills. Now, I'm not swiping my nose at someone who feels like that is their life goal, to be a factory worker and they want to work a good job and get a 40-year plan. I'm not, you know, talking shit about that person. You know, I'm not belittling that person at all. There's a person who maybe does have that thing, and that I think that's awesome. If that's your thing, that's your niche. I want to work at Whirlpool on an assembly line. That's dope. I think that's dope. Because there's a place for everybody out here. So I think that's dope. But for the person who's working there and they would rather do something else, that's the problem with capitalism, my friend. Because you're not allowed to be who would you be if you were able to do the thing that you actually love to do? Is anybody an asshole and can't figure out why? For my listeners on Spotify, I'm raising my hand. Because sometimes it's not about being an asshole, it's just about I don't like the way things are going for myself today. I don't like the progress or lack thereof that I'm making with my life today. Every now and again, the pressure gets to be too much to bear. Because you know, especially someone like myself, who's supremely aware that going to these people's job is the utmost level of bullshit. It's so hard to fathom. It's so hard to swallow. Like, pause. It's so, so hard to swallow. Pause. Going in there and donating 8, 10, 12 hours of my life every day to these people to come pay the light bill, to come pay the gas bill, or to pay it's criminal. Which is another byproduct of capitalism. Because there are some guys who are genetically predisposed to not going in there working that fucking job. It just is what it is. Criminality is the side baby of capitalism. Believe that. Because if everyone had their needs met, there would be no way, shape, form, or fashion somebody would take on the very scary task of getting a gun and going into a convenience store and saying, this is a stick-up. That's the dumbest shit in the world. And you have got to be at the end of, my son just laughed, so I'm sorry I couldn't hold it. You've got to be at the end of your fucking rope to run up in a convenience store with a stagecoach robber of a pistol and scream, this is a stick-up. But that's reality for so many men in prison. They got to the end of their rope, and as Warren G said, once upon a time, who's the real victim? Can you answer that? The nigga that's jacking or the fool getting jacked? Because how desperate does a man have to be when he goes and finds himself a weapon and goes to relieve another man of his property? The bottomless pit of a beast known as capitalism created that environment, set the stage for one man to pick up arms against another man and relieve him of his property. People will talk about crabs in the barrel. Niggas is crabs in the barrel, man, pulling each other down. But no one ever talks about the motherfucker that put him in the barrel. The guy who put him in the barrel gets off the hook every time. Crabs in the bucket, man. They crabs in the bucket, pull each other down. Who? I remember being a little boy and asking somebody that, and the adult just looked at me. I said, who put him in the bucket? And he just looked at me because I was like, I got more of a problem with the person that put all these innocent creatures in the bucket than I do with the creatures who are trying to get out and they not intelligent enough to figure it out how to work together. I got less of a problem with a bunch of unintelligent creatures who found themselves in a situation and can't figure out how to get out of it and they're hurting each other. I got less of a problem with them and much more of a problem with whoever put them in the bucket. And in this country, men have stopped looking at the motherfucker that put us in the bucket. We've been lulled to sleep with their dollars. We've been lulled to sleep with their TV, with their careers, with their jobs, with their pensions. That's why we can't keep a bitch. Sorry, I said it. That's why these women are out here cheating on us. That's why these kids are out here not respecting us, not listening. Because we're walking around in comfort at these people's jobs, building their dreams. And this lady looks at us like we expect, and primarily, somewhere in the animalistic part of her brain, she's like, he's a piece of shit. If a saber-toothed tiger ran up on us right now, this soft in the hands, fat belly ass boy wouldn't be able to protect me. Her inner cave woman thinks that about you. CEO. She thinks that about you. She doesn't know she thinks that about you, but that's why she cheats on you. And that's why she doesn't respect you, and that's why she talks to you the way she does. And manhood has significantly decreased in this country. It's been demonized. But it's our responsibility. Women and children are supposed to say dad is mean. He's mean. So? They're not men. They're not supposed to think like us. You look in the animal kingdom, the women and the children, they don't hang out with the guys like that. The guys, think about a lion. A lion hangs out pretty much by itself. You know, kids come around once in a while. They don't want to get eaten, so they kind of, give them a wide berth. They know better. The ladies, they kind of hang out, until it's their turn to go to the big rock. Go over there back behind the big rock. You know what they do back behind the big rock. And the lion don't do nothing all day until another lion shows up. If a renegade ass lion pulls up on the scene, that's when you see that mane stand up. Because see, as talented hunters as these women lions are, these lioness are, and as beautiful as they are, and as powerful and fast, they can't fuck with that lion. About 3, 4, 5 of them, they can't fuck with him. Can't nobody stand up and handle the lion except for another lion. So the lion only deals with lion shit. So of course the women and the children don't understand him and his ways oftentimes. But they know one thing. He serves a very, very important and vital function to the family unit. I don't know why he doesn't go out and hunt with us. I have no idea why he doesn't play with the kids. But I know when another lion rolls up thinking he's about to come put strange dick on us, that motherfucker right there stands up and the brown shit around his neck stands up and oh my goodness, makes my toenails curl. That's all the lioness knows is that motherfucker answers the call when it's time to do lion shit. Men are so far removed from manhood and masculinity that most men have absolutely no idea how to be men. Hands are soft as medicated cotton. Back is weaker than a motherfucker. Can't work. Can't get anything done. Can't figure anything out. I love seeing bootleg shit on the highway. I love seeing a guy in a raggedy truck with a trailer on it and half of a car strapped to it with like duct tape and some big red lights on it that are blinking independently because they're not hooked up to the car. I saw something like that the other day, and I grabbed my son and I pointed out, I said, that's man shit right there. That's what you do when you're a man. You figure it out. I said, I know it looks raggedy and fucked up, but he said, I got to get this car to the house. And him and his homeboy or whoever it was with him, they figured it out. They had a roll of duct tape and they had half of a trailer and some rope, and they hooked it up to the truck. And I looked at it, it was the most bogus engineering project I've ever seen. But it warmed my heart to see that, because I said, that is real man shit right there. That's what men do. We figure things out. We don't rely on somebody else. That's why a lot of us don't go to church, and a lot of us don't deal with religious things in that way. We have what we refer to as our relationship with who we believe in. But most of us don't just all the way get down with it like mom and the kids do. Because we already know ain't nobody coming to rescue me. I'm out here on my 10 toes, and anything that I get, it'll be on my merit unless I got lucky. And most of us know that luck ran out way back when we were 7, 8, 9 years old. So, in closing, I want to, as always, I am charging men. If you have a problem with your girl, if you have a problem with your kids, it's your fault. It is your fault, because you got to hear my stomp. 1, 2. You got to stomp down and be a man. I'm not talking about being violent. I'm not talking about being a caveman. I'm talking about being a real man and really leading your family. It's time to take a stance against the bottomless pit of a beast known as capitalism. It's time to take back the reins of masculinity and manhood. It's time to end the violence in our homes. It's time to end the endless bickering and arguing that takes place, because there's a constant tug of war between who's going to drive the car, who runs the show, and who wears the pants, and who's that motherfucker in the household. And it's not the fault of women. It's not the fault of children. It's the fault of men. Erred, flawed, scary ass, weak ass, bitch made ass, scared to tell a motherfucker what it is as men. That's exactly whose fault it is. I am charging you, every man under the sound of my voice, motherfucker. Reach down with your right hand. Grab down in between your legs. And if you got something down there dangling, then motherfucker, I want you to grab that motherfucker and hold on. Because it's time to stand up and rise up and tell motherfuckers what it is. It's time to start leading your family. There are some of us who are going to wind up losing our bitch in the process, and that's okay. That is 100% okay. Because let me tell you something. You had already lost her anyway. This was just the straw that broke the camel's back. She's probably already fucking that guy at work anyway. She's probably already planning her whole life with this old boy anyway. This was just the springboard into that next situation. Because I promise you, if you a sucker, she gonna play you. So it's time to stand up and really show women what being a man is all about. Show the government what being a man is all about. Stop being a slave to the dollar. Stop being a fucking slave to the dollar. Once we stop being slaves to the dollar, the simp is going to lose power. We got to stand firm. Stop being a slave to your weenie. I know you're afraid she's going to take the vagina away if you stand on masculinity. If you tell this bitch what it really is, she might stop having sex with you and she might leave you. And you got to be okay with that. Let me tell you something. It's a whole lot of bitches out here and they really ain't as smart as they think they are. You'll get another one, I promise you. And it's probably one way better than that one right there. You just scared because that's probably the prettiest bitch in your vicinity. But once you get away from that fear and you stand on your 10 toes, man, I promise you, you are going to fucking love it. You're going to love saying what you want to say. Not biting your tongue feels good. I bit my tongue a lot and it hurt. You know what I mean? I gnawed on my tongue. I'm not speaking to you as somebody who always stood on it and always told a bitch what it is. I'm not telling you as someone who, as they say in the Bible, I speak not as if I have already attained, but as one who presses on toward the upward call. That's what Paul told him. I'm not saying I already got it figured out, men. What I'm saying is I figured it out where I went wrong. If you're as gangster as I think you are, the guys who listen to me, listen to a song by Fat Tone called Walking in the Rain. Don't worry about the song. It is a good song and it gives you a lot of good insight as to how these bitches ain't shit. But more noteworthy than that is the interlude. Pimpin' Train says something so profound and noteworthy, and I'm gonna leave you with this before I get out of here. He said, listen, I'm gonna tell you how you start with the bitch is how you finish with the bitch. You can't start off strong and go weak. You can't start off weak and go strong. Do it like that and the game will last long. Keep that P in first degree. You have got to stand firm on who you are. If you have already started out with this young lady as a simp and she views you as a simp, it's not the end of it. It doesn't mean you'll lose her. I can help you keep her if you want to keep her around. But some things are going to have to drastically change in you all's life. I can't guarantee you'll keep her. Let me say that. I can do my best to help you, but I can't guarantee you'll keep her because a lot of these women faint in the presence of a real man. A lot of these women don't know how to speak in the presence of a real man. They're afraid to speak in the presence of a real man, a man who will confront them and say, no, woman, that's not correct. Because I'm not afraid of you not having sex with me. And most of these guys, she wasn't going to fuck you anyway, homeboy. That's the cold hard truth. She probably wasn't going to fuck you anyway, so you might as well tell her the truth. Because you'll feel better about it later. I promise you, every time one of them don't give me the pussy, I feel better later because when I was in her presence, I told the bitch what it was. So here's the thing. Manhood can only be repaired by men. Masculinity can only be promoted by men. Feminism is promoted, so why can't masculinity be promoted? So don't sit up here and let these bitches tell you you're a misogynist. Say that's okay, ma'am, I am a misogynist, and you're a feminist. You're on one side, I'm on the other. What's wrong with that? You're a Crip and I'm a Blood. What's the big deal? We can still be friends. If Crips and Bloods can figure out how to be friends, then misogynists and feminists can figure out how to be friends too. But you're not going to demonize me for being on one side of the spectrum and act like everything is all good with you on the other side of the spectrum. One extreme and the other extreme have to be bad because most people live in the gray, in the middle. That's where most people are at, in the middle. The extremes are bad. You got the extreme black, the extreme white, right? KKK, and then you got those extreme dudes who, okay, right? The extremes are bad. So if misogyny is bad, then feminism is bad. Simple and plain. So don't let them browbeat you when you tell the bitch, hey, I'm standing on this man shit. I'm a misogynist. And this is the way things need to go in this house. When you tell her that and she says, you a misogynist, say, yes, that's okay. That's 100% okay. I don't know who demonized the phrase, who demonized the term. But that's okay. If feminism is okay, if being a feminist is okay, it's championed. Men have to champion misogyny. And what will happen is you will get some boot shuffling, punk ass simps talking about, man, misogyny is wrong, man. I'm a feminist. I'm with the ladies. And you need to go pick you up some Kotex, you punk ass bitch. You need to go get some Kotex. That's the problem right there. Those scary ass dudes are the problem. And scary ass dudes who are around those guys who don't check them when they say, hey man, go on somewhere with that suck ass shit. Go over there with the women. You go sit down over there with them. Yeah, y'all get him some perfume. You remember we used to do that when we were kids? Oh, he's a sissy. Get out of here. You couldn't be around us. Now dudes are so scared to tell another man, you a sucker, get away from me. You want to be friends so bad. You see how far manhood is taking a lick? Do you remember in the old movies when dude was doing something another guy didn't respect, he'd look at him. That ain't much of a man there, is it? You know, that's how they used to talk. That ain't much of a man there, is it? We wanted those guys to get out from around us. We didn't got scared of doing that. So if you're around one of those punk ass, bitch made ass dudes, it's your responsibility as a real man to say, hey man, get the fuck away from me. Take your suck ass off from around me. Go find a role model. Go find a role model and learn how to be a man, man. I don't want to talk to you. It was your father's job to raise you. Get away from me, dude. Most of us, I ain't gonna say us, because I'll do that. I do that. I don't want you around me telling Christmas lies, and I don't want you around me with fugazi behavior. If you're gonna be a false individual, you gotta get away from me, man. I'll stop you in the middle of your lie and tell you, look, brother, that's a cap. Most men won't do that because most men are afraid to get the shit slapped out of them. And which brings me to my last point. And I told you guys I was getting out of here, but one more violence has got to be on the menu. You got to be okay with the fact that after you tell one of these simps to get out from among us, and we'll beat your ass too. Because oftentimes people forget that ass whippings are on the menu. So when you run one of these guys out of here, you got to let them know. And if you mad, I'll beat your ass too. Move on. Usually these guys, when they hear those words, even the buff ones, don't let the guys with the muscles scare you. Most of them can't fight. I just want to leave you with that tidbit too. I'm sure Eric will chime in on that. Most of them can't fight. So don't let the bowled up buff dude scare you. If he's on some fugazi behavior as a man, you tell him. Look him square in his buff ass eye and tell his big ass. And that's bogus as hell, man. Move your big ass on around from me, man. Go to the Big Brothers program and let somebody teach you how to be a man. Get your big ass off him around. It's a damn shame you that big and muscled up and you ain't even a man. You're a giant male with a vagina, a mental vagina. That's what you have when you spout that feminist rhetoric as a man. I can tell you were raised by a single mom. You was raised by a strong black woman. I can tell, nigga. Because you sound like a strong black woman. A lot of these guys sound like strong black women. And it is our responsibility to checkmate their ass when they're among us. So in closing, as always, I don't have all the answers. I don't know shit. I told y'all I fucked around and ate an edible tonight, man, on the accident. And I might be a little bit fucked up on the cool. But I do like to get the conversation started, and I do think there's an assault on manhood. There has been for about the past 20 years. We have to fight back on capitalism. We have to stop being so in love with the almighty dollar. And once again, violence in that capacity has to always be on the menu. When it comes to running these boot shuffling ass guys out from around us, violence has got to be on the menu. We've got to stop being afraid of slapping the shit out of one of these dudes because they're around us with this fugazi behavior. It takes the group. You usually don't have to slap them. It usually takes 2 or 3 guys all agreeing, man, yeah, you on bullshit. Move on, man. Matter of fact, you can't be around us for a week. You on punishment. They have to do like bikers and prospect to be among us. That's what we need to start doing, man. We really need to start getting a lot more discipline. But hey, I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the questions. I'm not sure that anything that I say makes sense most of the time. I play this back and I cringe. But my name is Arshawn Wade, a.k.a. the Angry Nerd, a.k.a. Arshawn the Mouthpiece, the cat that got lost in Arkansas on his way to South Beach, a.k.a. Arshawn, a.k.a. Sean with a mother effing R. Peace.